Welcome to the show. This week's FailRace Vs The Community was cycled production, and we start with some Honda Prelude. Cycle production means all of these cars are absolutely stock. There are no upgrades, there are no tuning to any of these vehicles. So this is all about pure driver skill. Our first race is also at Iberia, a track that is notoriously tricky to overtake on. It's a very, very fast track with very few braking zones. Didn't stop people going three wide through silly places on this opening lap up to Diabolica, and there's three cars trying to fit on the same piece of road, and amazingly they get round the corner. I've never seen people try three wide there. Admittedly, these are D-class cars. They are not the fastest of vehicles. They are surprisingly good handling. Preludes, they're great fun to drive, and they are not the fastest of vehicles, and I think that's why people were getting away with some more ambitious manoeuvres and trying to squeeze Hondas into corners. They're three wide again. It doesn't end quite so well this time round, as the green car just ends up running out of space. Tiny tag on the back of the red vehicle. Has to back out of it, and then they come down the start-finish line in towards the first corner. This is probably your best overtaking bet of the lot, the most sensible of the overtaking spots around this track. Up in front, some cars are doing a little bit of rallycross. Can be a little bit tricky sometimes judging the braking zone into that first corner. There is all in 2x2s further up as they head towards the bomb hole. Yeah, everybody's again too wide through this corner. Very fast corner, that one. They race up towards the hill towards your next, probably the second best of the overtaking opportunities, as a multicoloured car has a look at the inside of somebody. The green car we're following tries to get up the inside, can't quite make it work. There's towards the quadruple apexed right-hander, and they're three wide again into this corner. You can sometimes get past somebody around here. It is pretty damn hard to do so, though. Cars are falling off the road left, right and centre. The green car we're following has made up three places, about to make up a fourth, as he gets a far better drive out of this final corner on towards the start-finish line, and it's just a drag race down towards turn one. Nothing you can do about it in this sort of racing. The cars are all absolutely equal. It's all about the drive you get out of the final corner. The green car we're following has a look at the inside into turn one, can't quite make it stick. Further back, they're all swapping places, a little bit of a bump. You don't really want to be having a bit of a bump in these cars. You lose a tiny bit of momentum in vehicles that are all absolutely equal, and yeah, that'll cause you problems. As you see, the green vehicle has now lost three places. It was all busy in the opening laps, and there were many place changes. I found myself in second and was somewhat close to the leader. I love Iberia, and this is by far my favourite track on Forza 4, as many of you will probably know. I'm pretty damn quick around here, and I was trying to find a way past, but as I mentioned, it is very tricky to overtake here, especially in cars that are absolutely identical. I have a look at going around the outside into turn one. You can do that. This time I just can't quite make the move stick. Fortunately for me, the black Prelude just runs a little bit wide on the exit of turn one. I can get up the inside, and then it's going to be side by side around one of the fastest corners on the track. Amazingly, and I'm still not sure how he managed to keep that much momentum up, he keeps it around the outside up towards the next corner. I love this corner. After I've spent so much time driving around the track, I've actually got the hang of taking that corner quickly. So now it's great fun in cars like these, especially cars that handle so well, in towards the quadruple apex corner, and I'm still not quite close enough. Fortunately for me, the black car just doesn't quite get the right line into the final corner, and I can take a bit better. I can take sort of a tighter line and get a better drive out of this corner, and then as we come on to the drag race down the back straight, and a little bit of slipstream with the better exit I got out of the final turn, and this time I can get my car onto the inside, which is where you want to be, into turn one. The black car tries to cut back, slightly misjudges it, gives my car a little bit of a bump, but it's fine, we all get away with it, and well, it looks like we're a little bit too wide there. I have the acceleration, I have the better line out of that corner, and I can take the lead. Further back, it was as busy as it had been at the start, really. It's always a little bit interesting running Iberian for these kinds of races. Often they become quite processional. It can be quite hard to get past. It wasn't proving like that as much here. There was plenty of overtaking, and there were an awful lot of people that were close on track. One of the downsides of running sort of identical cars is if you take a slight bit of aero damage, you really notice it when everybody's driving equal cars, and so you can often end up with quite a spread out field. This time round, it wasn't the case. Everybody was all close together. At this particular point, people were holding station, but yeah, everybody was fairly close to somebody on the track. A little bit later, as I said, with the damage, this orange car, and while I can look at the telemetry, I'm never quite sure that I trust it, because sometimes the laggy replays can be a little bit funny with it. I believe this orange car had a bit more aero damage than the vehicles around him, and that really doesn't help matters. While these cars do not rely very much on aerodynamical parts, once you start taking aero damage, it will slow down your car in a straight line, and that can make things a little bit difficult when everybody is driving exactly the same cars. You can't really make that time up anywhere else because you've all got exactly the same machinery. So the orange car was slowly dropping back through the field as we come through the bumhole section. The green car has got an excellent drive up towards the next corner. He's going to have a look to the inside. Amazingly, the orange car manages to fight back. He keeps his foot down and holds it all the way around the outside, and there's a cheeky overtake going on for the dark green car that saw his opportunity to get the position as they come through the quad apex corner. The orange car is just struggling a little bit for grip, and then they're all going to change places yet again into the final turn. It's the light green car that in the end comes out on top. Orange car just puts the wheel on the grass, and when you're turning a corner like that, if you just get your wheel slightly wrong out on the grass, it kind of drag your car on towards the grass. Doesn't help matters. He gets his car back on the track, and it's all very close down the start-finish line. I think there's some bump drafting going on there. Two cars were incredibly close as they run up towards turn one. Dark green cars trying to get to the inside. Just takes a little bit too tight for a line, can't carry the speed, and will have to slot back in behind the light green car as they go down the hill. Yeah, there was a lot of more overtaking going on here than I expected, if I'm honest. At the front, having got the lead, I was now the one coming under pressure. Of course, when you're behind, you can sort of be on maximum attack, but once you have the lead, you're having to defend, and when you're having to defend, you are slowing yourself down effectively. So yeah, we were squabbling over the lead for most of this race, to be honest. The two of us were fighting for the lead, and third place wasn't massively far behind us if we ever had a coming together. As we come on to the start-finish line, again we have another one of these drag races, pretty much down to who has the least damage and who has the better exit, and we were pretty evenly matched coming up towards turn one. This time the black car gets the cut back right. That's what he was trying to do earlier on, and can get his car to the inside, and I'm stuck trying to go the long way around a couple of fast corners. I believe this was on towards the final lap, so I had to do something about this. I wasn't going to settle for second place on this one as we run up towards the hill. I knew I was quick through here, and he braked a little bit early. I had to dive, couldn't quite get my car far enough alongside. Just a little bit of a tag from the front of his car on the back of mine meant neither of us could steer enough. I let off the throttle to let him have the position back, thinking that now it was pretty much over. I had one more opportunity if I was going to get the pass done, and that is into the final turn. Unfortunately for me, black car just ran a little bit wide. Not sure if he locked his brakes or what it was. He just ran a little bit too wide into the final turn, and I can sneak up the inside. And then we go with this drag race yet again, and while I could get alongside, I didn't quite have the momentum up the straight, and it was incredibly frustrating as the black car would take the victory. You could see how much we'd be slowing each other down. The white car had been closing quite a bit on the final couple of laps. Yeah, despite the difficult nature of overtaking at this track, and the very short track and very fast track, it had been a remarkably close and exciting race at Iberia. We move on to the second race that was at the Hockenheim full circuit with some very large Audi RS6s as we run into the first corner. This is a terrifying first corner, and many cars ended up rather wide. A lot of people won't have necessarily driven this car very much, probably won't have driven it at this track either, and this is not a racing vehicle whatsoever. As I hugged the inside at turn 2 and managed to make up a few places as everybody was still trying to get a feel for this car, I end up out a little bit wide. Quite scary going out that wide. Plenty of other people were as well as we head down the long back straight. The car on the inside of me was lagging around just a little bit, so I was kind of being a bit cautious. I was trying to give him as much space as I could, but I didn't really want to be too far to the inside and have a terrible line into the hairpin. I had to kind of compromise on this one. I was a little bit too tight on the approach to the hairpin, but I could get away with it. Further back, most people, I say most, there was one clonk But most of the cars got around the hairpin okay, which is I was surprised by. We've often seen massive crashes there, but everybody got around the hairpin despite these cars being rather quick in a straight line and not having the best of brakes. These are very, very heavy vehicles, and while sure the brakes are quite powerful, it's a lot of car to try and stop into a rather tight hairpin. The pack further back was close together. It was very close together on this one in the opening lap. There was a bit of a dive from somebody further back. Yeah, they're trying to fit 3 Audis wide into corners. It doesn't work. You could kind of get away with the Preludes in that they were a bit smaller and they were quite a lot slower than these cars. Somebody's escaped. They want to do some drag racing. You're not going to find very much grip out there. You don't want to be on the drag racing track. Yeah, you lose all of the grip out over on that section as they run across the line. Yeah, things were all very close further back. It is 4 cars squabbling over a position. I'm not sure what position it was. The silver car very nearly gets a double cutback through turn 2 and 3, ends up out wide. Somehow the orange car pops out in front. Everybody's swapping places all over, and it's very hard to keep up with what was going on. There was a big group of cars behind them as well that were all racing very, very close together. When you see a group of 4 cars as close as this coming up towards the hairpin, honestly, I was expecting somebody to run into the back of somebody else, especially we've got another group of 4 cars further back. Amazingly, nobody did. Everybody got around the hairpin absolutely fine. There was a big dive and a good overtake from a smoking car further back. Unfortunately, he couldn't sort of hold on to the position with his damaged engine. He just didn't quite have the drive. I think he had damage on his car. It's very hard to tell with the slightly laggy replays. The orange car was determined to defend his position, goes around the outside of one corner, keeps himself on the inside of the next, fends off the white car for now, the silver car for now. Fortunately, can't quite get his car turned through the next one, and the silver car can get up alongside. The orange car does a good job of keeping it on the track and keeping up his momentum, but around the outside at this next corner in rather heavy Audis is somewhat unlikely. He tries, and credit for trying around the outside there, but he can't quite hold on. Yeah, as I said, these are not racing vehicles. These are not the easiest of cars in the world to drive. But again, they were proving certainly spectacular when it came to the racing. This was all over 4th place. The front 3 we had somewhat scarpered away, while these lots here all argued over various positions. Again, this was another case of, I think the blue car here was damaged. The telemetry was showing that he had some amount of engine damage. I'm not 100% sure if he was or not, but this car did seem to be struggling. And yeah, when you're racing identical vehicles, just that little bit, if you're missing like 5 horsepower, you're going to notice it. Coming into the hairpin, the red car may have had a little bit of problem getting stopped, took avoiding action, ended up out on the grass. The silver car kind of tries to get alongside him, but in taking such sort of a wide line, the red car actually gets quite a lot of drive on the exit and can keep the position. The white car found his way past the blue Audi into the hairpin. Blue Audi's all out of shape going to the next corner, and again the red car's just having a little bit of problems getting his car stopped. In fact, everybody is for that corner. Loads of cars ended up off wide at that corner, and the silver car has made up one position as the blue Audi just runs a little bit wide. That was another very common thing to see in these cars. The blue Audi has lost another position, tries his best at getting it back. Points for bravery and points for effort, but can't quite make it stick, runs a bit too wide, and will lose a further position. At the front, and I was throwing everything I could at the leader, who was defending very well, and I was struggling to find a way past, because you have no straight line speed advantage. Normally I would build a car with a little bit more straight line speed just to give me that edge if I'm stuck behind somebody when it comes to the straights, but of course here there is absolutely none of that. And as we come out of turn 1, I managed to get a bit of better drive up towards the second corner, and with all of our squabbling over the lead, the car in third had caught up quite a lot in a couple of laps, and it was now going to be sort of a 3-way tussle for the lead. Yeah. There was incredible racing from Vic. I wasn't expecting the Audis. Of all the races, the Audis I was expecting to be probably the least exciting, because these aren't racing vehicles. These are luxury saloons. Okay, they're fast luxury saloons, but they're not really designed for this kind of thing. And yet they were producing probably one of the best races I've seen in Versus. It's certainly the best race I've seen for a while in Versus the Community. These lots were still squabbling over 4th place. The red car had managed to get the move done on a silver one, and then promptly ran out of brakes into this corner, which everybody was running wide at. I think the car in 4th ended up wide there as well. You can see in the background there was another group of 3 vehicles arguing over whatever the positions were behind this. Yeah, throughout the entire field, there was plenty of action going on, whatever position you were in. As I said, the blue car was struggling a little bit and was now coming under pressure from the cars behind this white Audi. Tried to go the long way round, ends up in a little bit of trouble as the green car is now right behind her. This is the thing when you find yourself in sort of a trio of vehicles. There was something on 2 wheels in the background there. I don't know if you saw that. If you missed it, you might have to rewind. I have no idea. I think that might be lag. If it's not lag, I have no idea how you got your car on 2 wheels there. I am mightily impressed. Anyway, with the battle, we are following as they run up towards Turn 1. Turn 1, one of the harder corners to overtake here. Hockenheim is a very good racetrack in that there is so many corners you can overtake on, but Turn 1 is not really one of them. It's a pretty tough place to overtake, and the front 2 cars of this little train both ran wide, giving the green car the best drive up towards Turn 2. However, the white Audi gets brave and goes around the outside of the pair of them. There's an impressive move to go around the outside of there, and you put yourself on the inside for the next corner, and the white car can take the position, and I think he will get overtake of the evening for that one. It's yeah, it's pretty rare to see a car go around the outside of Turn 2. At the front, after I had run wide at the corner where everybody was running wide, I ended up slipping back to 2nd, and yeah, couldn't really do very much about catching the leader, who was doing some, by the looks of it, celebratory slides in the red Audi. Yeah, it had been a remarkably close race at Hockenheim, much closer than I expected. Us front 3 had pulled a huge margin over the cars behind. They were so busily squabbling with each other, they were losing more time than we were losing, fighting amongst ourselves. But yeah, everybody had somebody to race near enough in this round, which is always good to see as the red Audi takes the victory. The front 3 were all very close, but not quite as close as the battle for 4th, as they were pushing their cars to the limit. 4th and 5th both ended up out wide, and the white Audi in 6th tried the spectacular, trying to go around the outside of 2 cars into the hairpin is pretty unlikely. Gave it a go though, couldn't quite make it stick, although he does find himself on the inside as they run into the final couple of corners. They were very nearly 3 wide, and through there, I don't think I've seen that pulled off before. In the end, the red car was slightly wide, couldn't quite get a good enough drive onto this final straight. So yeah, it was a mighty close finish, and behind them there was another group of vehicles that would have a similarly close finish as well. We move on to our 3rd and final race with some proper racing vehicles, pretty much as far away from the Audis as you could get with these Lotus 211s. Turn 1 was just a blur of roll cages and wings, and yeah, everybody was 3 wide into Turn 1. These cars, in case you haven't driven them, you should. These are phenomenally grippy. They have unbelievable levels of grip, have stupendously good brakes, very little in the way of straight line speed, but incredibly fast around the lap of a track. There was a slight lag cannon in the background, and lag would prove to be a problem. In this particular race, you'll see various cars with smoking engines. Ignore that. That is a slightly dodgy replay. My car is absolutely fine. There's a car behind me. I think there's a few cars behind me that are showing as smoking. They shouldn't be. That's just a dodgy replay. I have a big lunge into the hairpin. Can't quite get it stopped. End up running a little bit wide and get a slight shove off the track. And I get back on without causing too much of a problem, but have to do all of the work over again. It was at the back of the pack that things were most interesting on this opening lap. Again, there were some slightly odd, wonky, laggy collisions going on. Unfortunately, there's very little I could do about that. It's a shame, but I wish I could. It's just the way it works. At least Forza 4 servers are better than the Gran Turismo ones. Anyway, everybody was too wide through that first corner. On the sort of through the opening corner coming up towards this next section, there was a long train of vehicles. I ended up going around the outside of somebody through here that I'm still not quite sure how I got away with. The car we're following goes around the outside of somebody as well as we come down this back straight. This layout of Silverstone, I quite like. This layout, there's plenty of overtaking opportunities as we're all ducking and weaving down the back straight. This hairpin is one of the best opportunities you're going to get. The orange car we're following thinks about going around the outside, can't quite do it, cuts back to the inside, and very nearly gets 2 cars in one go. can't quite get it done. I get a really good drive out of that corner and get myself to the inside as we head up towards Bridge. Sure enough, I can get the pass done there as some cars were struggling with grip. The car that was in front of me also struggled with grip. I tried getting on the inside of the next corner. You might not have seen me coming, and I ended up slightly sideways on the grass. And well done to the orange car for managing to avoid me, who was rather pointing the wrong way in the middle of the track. Even further back, this is towards the very back of the field, and still people were finding positions to argue over. I think this is like 13th or something. I'm not entirely sure. This orange car was trying to get up through the position very, very sideways. While I said these cars have huge amounts of grip, they really do. They are phenomenally good cars to drive. You can still try and ask a bit too much of them, and then you will end up in trouble. We were seeing a few people sliding these cars around. When you really do push them, you will get some oversteer on them, but in general, they're very, very good cars. This orange one has a huge dive into the hairpin. Very nearly gets it done. Just can't quite stop it in time. Ends up running a little bit wide, and just the tiniest of tags from the black car. Well done for controlling it. Unsettles this vehicle. Yeah, there was plenty of close action going on, and it was mostly in the midfield at this point where all of the action was happening again with this little group of cars. I think we're around 7th place. There was a very big slide from a black to 11. I was alongside somebody as we come up towards the chicanes, and sure enough, I end up on the inside again. Cars, I don't know if I was trying slightly adventurous manoeuvres or people just weren't seeing where I was. Again, I got past another car. This is where you'll notice the damage. In these of all the vehicles, you will notice any aero damage you have in your car the most with these. As the vehicle in front very quickly found out, I could sort of cruise up to the back of him, and it wasn't really that much of a problem. Just the small bits of aero damage were enough to really slow your car down in a stroll. Not sort of massively slow it down, but cause problems for your car in a straight line with the other vehicles being quicker than you. Now, at the front, unfortunately, the car that had led for about 5 laps was to lag out, which was a bit of a shame, but this would become the battle for the lead. It was effectively a 4-way kerfuffle for first place. As they come into the hairpin, the orange car sort of thinks about going around the outside, doesn't really need to bother. Red car ends up out-braking himself anyway, so there can be a fairly simple cutback, and behind them, the two 211s that were squabbling have finally sort of settled into their positions. It's a big sideways moment from the orange car. I'm surprised he managed to carry so much momentum through there. He ends up all out of position though for the next corner, allowing the red car alongside, and into the next one just sort of thinks about it, can't quite get far enough alongside. Orange car's not really that bothered, it can just run out wide, carry a lot of momentum on the exit, get himself to the inside for the next corner. It's 3 wide through the final turn. The multicoloured 211s try to get involved, can't quite do anything about it. The blue 211s on the inside, and then it's a drag race into turn 1. I'm guessing most of these cars were fairly even. I don't know if any of them had damage or not. I don't trust the replay. They must have been fairly even though on the aero damage front, as everybody was all evenly matched down the start finish line. Big slides from the orange car yet again. It was in second place that was somewhat closer between these lot. They were very nearly going 3 wide into the Maggers and Beckett's corner, and then the run off of this corner, I think the blue car must have just got the curb wrong or something. Either way, he was very slow off of that corner. In fact, the orange car at the front wasn't that fast. It was the red car that had made the most ground out of there. Unfortunately, lag would strike yet again as the blue car got to... I don't know. I've watched that replay from many different angles. The red car never touches the back of him. It's just a little bit of lag, and it catapults the Lotus off into the sand trap, which is a shame because things were looking all rather interesting at the front. And by the time they came on to the final lap, the orange Lotus had just a little bit of a lead over the other two. It was looking as if it was going to be fairly comfortable for the orange car until everything went wrong through Bridge. Yet again, big slide through that corner. These cars proving a little bit more oversteering. He could have had rear aero damage for all I know. But yeah, struggling for a little bit of rear end grip. The red car's alongside again into this corner, but there's not very much you can do. The orange car sort of runs out wide, keeps his momentum up as they go into the final corner. Unless you can cut back to the inside and get a better drive out of here, which the red car can't do, there is not very much you can do with so evenly matched vehicles. So that is going to be the order that the top 3 finish in. In the end, I think I would make my way up into 4th. it had been another good race. All of these 3 races had been excellent, had all been very, very close. Cycle production often produces close racing, and this week had proved to be very eventful. It was good fun. All of the races were good fun, and there was plenty of action going on in them. Now, that is it for this week's FailRace Versus the Community. The next one shall be held on Thursday, the 29th of May. It shall be starting at 7 PM British Summer Time. I'm going to be running it slightly differently this week, in that we're going to be running B-class cars that must have 400 or more horsepower. It's an idea I've had for a while, actually. I was trying to sort of figure out the best way of doing it. I think this could make things quite interesting. 400 horsepower doesn't sound like an awful lot when you can get things like Chargers and Challengers that have more than 400 standard in B-class, but the truth of the matter is, most of the B-class cars that I run and cars that will win these races normally have about 250 horsepower and have an awful lot of handling parts. So by making you have 400 horsepower, you're going to have to compromise on the handling parts. You can't run race tyres and race weight reduction and race suspension necessarily. You're not going to be able to have all the handling on a car. I think it could make for a really interesting race. Like, do you go all out power and try and have a very fast car in a straight line, or do you keep it as close to the 400 as you can, go for more handling? I have no idea. It could be a disaster, or it could make for a very interesting race. I'm going to give it a go, and we're going to see what happens. If you want to take part in that race, then you can sign up on our forums. There'll be a link in the description. Find the FailRace Versus the Community part, and that is where you sign up. However, that is it for today, so thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.